most of you here are either self-employed or business owners, or you're connected nonprofits or whatever. And we are, another part of our Liberty focus is on individual freedoms. And to be a leader is really good to understand people and to listen. So if you want to increase your sales, increase your growth, so you can make more money so that Bill and Paul and Scott can invest it for you, it really is good to listen. So when I was honored to speak at the National Convention for Liberty-Minded People down in Orlando, and I went to a session there, and this guy was just like, awesome. And I was like, you need to come to Atlanta. And our pastor had just did a thing about listening evangelism, questioning evangelism, and the power of just asking questions and listening. And we're good at talking to people, but we can learn a little more about listening, right? I mean, I can, maybe you guys can, you're perfect, you know. But, so this guy is really good, and I was teasing, I was like, he's the father of triplets. So he learned real quick how to listen. But he's more than a father of triplets. He's an entrepreneur, he has a radio show up in Minneapolis, he's a career development, life coach type person. But he's also a man of God, and he's committed to what he's doing. He's not just a bunch of talk or rhetoric, which if you know me, we believe in what? Liberty and action. I'm about action, not just talking. So I'm not going to take up any more time. I believe he's going to introduce himself. You will be forever changed and transformed. So let's welcome, with a great Atlanta welcome, Mr. Joe McKenzie.
Thank you, Kevin. Yes, I had the honor of meeting Kevin about 5 months ago, and he did attend my seminar that day, listening workshop at the Secretary National Convention, and we've been friends ever since, talking about coming down here, and I'm very thankful in this time of thanks, as Thanksgiving approaches, for my friendship with Kevin, and be able to come down here and talk today. I really, truly mean that. I'm a family man. It's tough to be away from my family. I got a nice text from my son Sam last night. Good luck in Atlanta. I'm going to miss you. And it all hit home. 15 years old and was worried about his dad. And so I'm just honored to be here, honored to call Kevin my friend, and thank you for doing everything to arrange this. I know you put in long hours. Thank you for our sponsors here today. I do appreciate that. Leading by listening. I talked to Kevin a couple weeks ago about who's going to be here today. And I could not believe the scope of the background, of our professional backgrounds, who were involved in nonprofit, faith communities, politicians, small business owners, IT. It was astounding. And Kevin shared that with me, and I did that for a reason, Kevin, because I know that my message today will touch on where we're going with this today. But I also know that everybody has individual needs in regards to their business growth. And I'm very in tune with that. I don't think everything I say today is going to automatically help grow your business. I'm the tip of the iceberg. And I can tell you, growing up one of 8 in a large Irish Catholic family in St. Paul, Minnesota, number 7 of 8, with siblings 14, 15 years older than you. And everybody sitting at the kitchen table at night, 5:30, you had to be there. You know, Mom served at 5:30. And we were all at the table, 10 of us. And I learned at an early age that it wasn't all about me. I couldn't talk about the Bugs Bunny cartoons, or what Linda White wrote that day, or I had to be a part of the conversation. My father, a World War II vet, older siblings, baby boomers primarily, and me and my younger brother. The value, the wisdom, that information that I got as a 7, 8-year-old, when your brother and sister are going to college, and you hear the ups and the downs, and you learn these insights, and it wasn't because I was talking about Bugs Bunny as much as listening to my older siblings get through their late teens, early 20s. And I realized that information is a commodity. And it wasn't because I was talking about it, it was because I was gaining it. And that was many, many, many years ago. And I realized that being able to connect with older siblings, connect with an older father, that was my gift. That was something that I realized and quantified getting out of college as a salesperson. It wasn't all about me. A lot of salespeople would argue it. But because it wasn't about me, it was about my clients. I spent 14 years in the highly competitive office equipment industry. High-end copiers. I competed against Xerox, but I wasn't Xerox. I was a small dealership in Minneapolis, or St. Paul, dealing with several large companies. I was their walking building. So I learned the edge early that the equation was the product plus the service plus me got the deals from me. Many clients I had in those 14 years, 10 plus years. And it wasn't because it was about me, it was about them that I learned how to listen. And I can share with you a very painful time when I didn't listen very well. It was with a major account with my company. It was an existing major account that I took over. And it was going pretty well for a year or two. I got to know the account. There's probably 20 plus copiers, all high end, $20,000 or more, all leased, all over the building. They're a big collection agency in Minneapolis. They brought in a new buyer. Here I was, had probably 10 sales in the last year under my belt. I had momentum. I knew the account. I was servicing the account. If there was a problem, I knew about it. The new buyer came in, wanted to do something a little different. What he wanted was all the leases, copier leases, all to sync up, basically bring brand new copiers on one day and 36 months later remove them and then get a whole new batch, leased copiers. I took a very prudent move on, well, this one's been here 3 months. We'll just leave that one here. And the one on the third floor, we'll just leave there too. We'll work prudently. And I thought I was doing him a service by saying, you really don't need to trade this one on, it's barely broken in. Well, what happened was, I lost a $100,000 deal for the company. Because I did not hear and understand that this new buyer, this gentleman, wanted 20 brand new copiers all coming in December 1st and 36 months later leaving on November 30th. That's what he was telling me. I was not listening actively. And I lost the deal. Painful. For about 3 weeks because it was an owner that I saw as a father figure. I was so down that I couldn't face him because we'd had that account for so long. That it was me, that my lack of listening skills lost that major account from the company. Luckily, I rallied, I recalibrated my approach, I sought mentorship on how to listen to what they're saying, learn some techniques on clarification on what they're saying versus making an assumption of what I thought was best for them. Ever since then, I continued on for several more years with major national accounts and as a sales manager, as a sales trainer, that I never forgot that story. To this day, it brings pain, knowing how much it meant to the owner of the company and how I failed. Well, we all know that we can overcome our failures and overcome that and become better at it. And that was 2004 that happened. I brought in several new major accounts after that, being a better listener than the next salesperson. And I carry that everywhere I go. That pain, that memory comes back to me. When I didn't listen to understand, I thought I was listened enough to provide the customer service. Very painful. So when I talk to groups about active listening and to grow your business. And I understand there's some people in the nonprofit, there's people in the faith organizations, there's people in political parties, small business owners, franchise owners, that it applies. Kevin had mentioned that I do some career counseling, and I'm a career specialist, and I help people reinvent, recalibrate, retool their careers. The average age of my client with my company, Ripple Connect, is about 53. I do a baby boomer centric show in the Twin Cities with my co-host Freddie Bell. And so the majority of my folks I just turned 50. The majority of folks are a few years older than me, if not more. I've been 58, 62, whatever. Reinventing, recalibrating their career. And when I work with them, I didn't realize this until I revised my website, and I wanted to get some additional endorsements. So I sought some of the recent clients that I work with. And I rarely change any word within a recommendation, an endorsement. I want it to be real. And I looked at them, and many of them on my website said, Joe listened very closely. And they were long, some of them were longer endorsements, some of them talked about specific interview techniques, what have you. But Joe listened closely to what I was looking for in a meaningful career. Joe listened closely to the needs that I didn't even realize that I must have overcome that loss of a major account to the point where I listen actively, and it shows, because this last person I worked with has a meaningful career helping people, new Americans, with their writing skills and starting for small business. She actually helped me with developing one of my seminars on paired exercises. So one of my clients, I went back, this individual teaches screenwriting classes at the University of Minnesota, and I saw her work, and I said, could you help me with the paired exercise? And I get to conduct that tomorrow. But it's a simple exercise that we can all do, and I'm going to share with you tonight, or share with you this afternoon, that same exercise. But it's because of that listening that my business grows. Other people talk about, you should talk to Joe McKenzie because he'll listen to you. He won't tell. And so when I do seminars like in Orlando about don't tell, ask, I want to get people's attention. We have, for one reason or another, see if this works. Okay. Let's talk about today, the reality of today. Social media is there, it's here to stay. Several of us in this room have been on Facebook today, Twitter, what have you, LinkedIn. And a lot of people are utilizing that to tell everybody what they're doing. That is great. I do the same thing. But it also creates a lot of situations where it's, like my dad said, Joe, it's not all about you. One day I want to put out there on Facebook, does anybody need anything today? Just curious. I've got an hour. Does anybody need any advice, help? Ask. And hope that I listen. I may not be perfect. I may say, that's really not my strong suit, but this person might be. So we have social media. Can you see the lighting's okay on that? Okay. We do. We also do have, and I do a lot of executive coaching with professionals and people that are in sales. In the Twin Cities, I don't know, I can't speak for the Atlanta area, but I know that I could go to a networking event every other hour in the Twin Cities. Networking events, everywhere. And one of the reasons I don't enjoy a lot of networking events is I sense that people go and they talk at people. They want to tell, and then they move on. And I can see that. Paul, can I use you as an example? So if I was engaging with you and I was the person telling, and I want to get my headline in and what I do and what impact I can have, I can also sense that they're eyeing up someone else that they want to move on to, so they're already breaking eye contact. I can pick up on that in a lot of ways. And Paul, if you knew that I wanted to go talk to Kevin, while in our conversation, I got done telling you, you'd probably pick up on that nonverbal body language, correct? That I really wasn't engaged anymore in that conversation, correct? I think we've reverted to a lot of that. I'm not saying it's widespread. I'm just saying that we tell a lot, we don't act. We want to move on to the next person to tell. But I teach my clients stand out. Zig when everybody else is zagging. Ask, engage, talk about raising chickens in the backyard, talk about a book that this gentleman wrote, talking about serving in the military, talking about college football. When we engage and we have that, we start on the path of building positive or meaningful business relationships. Agreed? Simple act of just engaging and building that foundation. We started a couple days ago via the phone, right, Chris? And we continued it today, and we plan to continue it soon, right? Agreed? It's not about me telling or vice versa. It's talking with each other, right? But along with talking with each other, we understand where we're coming from. We understand our interests. I think I mentioned I may have a resource for you in regards to vaccinations. That's a common bond that we have. I'll let you know the ups and the downs. I've got a hen that's molting, losing their feathers. Guess what's next month in Minnesota? Snow. And to add to it, we've just come out of a very long, exhausting, divisive presidential election. It's time to heal. It's time to ask, what do we need? How do we move forward? We all have responsibilities. We all have businesses. We all have children. We all have possibly elderly parents. We have to take care of ourselves. We have to move on. We tell them. And this is the reality of today. It really is. And it's refreshing when I can engage in a conversation that's balanced, that's reciprocal, and that goes towards building better, meaningful business relationships. Many of my opportunities, I incorporated 3.5 years ago. The first year was difficult. My father was close to 90 years old and had dementia, living in his home of 60 years, and I spent a lot of the time on the deck in the backyard with Dad. He passed away, it's going to be 3 years ago here next month. I do not regret 1 minute of sitting there with Dad, bringing him to Dairy Queen, and sitting on the property that I grew up on. But in 2.5 years, I took some existing business relations that I built some new, and have seen growth from speaking to some area chambers of commerce 5 miles from my home to an opportunity to speak every Saturday on the radio in regards to careers, moving it to more of a national scale in a syndicated, recurring way, working with city council candidates for a third political party, going to coach some of those folks to connect with voters in Minnesota to speaking at a national convention where I met Kevin. Ripple Connects, my company, is just based upon a ripple effect model that I designed that I helped people 10 years ago when they were getting laid off. And so ripples do connect. Going to Orlando and having Kevin Fortune attend my seminar has brought me here today. Agreed? But we also needed to listen to each other, didn't we? We did. And we built that foundation of positive business relationship, understanding where Kevin's coming from, and Kevin knows where I'm coming from. And that stands out in a lot of ways for a lot of people. And it's just a simple soft skill. And I've seen business growth, I've seen customer retention, I've seen referrals. And it's just through the simple step. But you know what else is happening here today? As I look across the room, we have 3 generations in this room. Millennials, Gen Xers, and baby boomers. Right? Who remembers when Neil Armstrong walked down the road? Show of
July
hands.
20th, 1969.
Excellent. Three or so? My older brother always asked me, do you remember when the Beatles came to the United States? And I said, no, I was born in
64.
I was born in 60. But he seems to forget. I'm waiting for Thanksgiving. Give or take. We can establish it before I was born. Who remembers the Iran hostage crisis in 1879? Let's see, same hands that obviously, so a few more people. I do. November 3rd, 1979, November 3rd or 4th. My birthday's November 2nd. This, well, for the millennials, this was a big deal. The world came to our doorstep. 444 hostages. No, sorry. They were held for 444 days. And it was Nightline, ABC Nightline was created to cover this. It started and it just kept going with Ted Kopp. I remember it, I was 13 years old, vividly. Millennial? Remember 9/11?
Mm-hmm.
Probably some of you were in school, middle school, high school. My children were born 3 weeks after 9/11, September 27, 2001. They will be in the workforce in a matter of 7 to 10 years. So a new I don't even know if they have a title quite yet for that generation. But the reality of it is that we're all impacted by world events when we're coming of age, when we're parents, when we're looking at retirement. Being raised by a father in World War II veteran impacted how I was raised. But not everybody had a father that was a World War II veteran. Not everybody remembers landing on the moon or 1979 hostage crisis. And soon the millennial, or the generation coming up after the millennials won't remember 9/11. All of these events impact us, correct? In different ways. I remember driving home on that day early with my wife, Nancy, expecting my triplets. 3 weeks before 9/11, I was worried about her. She saw a lot of stuff on TV that caused stress level to go through the growth. What type of world was I bringing my kids into? It's impacted me. These events impact us. We're all different. We have to be sensitive to that. As we look at multi-generational listening in the workplace, if someone's in sales and you're calling on someone in a different generation, they may listen differently. They may have different expectations. But as a business owner, if you're a Gen Xer, are you not going to call on a millennial or call on a baby boomer? Of course not. You're not going to. We have to find a way to connect with them, understand where they're coming from. And that's where active listening comes in once again. So we have to be, there's some very good books out there. I know Strauss and Howe, the Generations book. It's an older book in the 90s, but they talk about when all of us come of age in the world events. It's kind of a theory that they have, generational theory. That because you came of age during a crisis like me with 1979 when I'm 13, that impacts me how I think about things today. But certainly you weren't born yet, right? And imagine you managing that next generation coming up that doesn't remember 9/11.
And there's kids getting their license too, for July.
So to be in tune with where everybody's coming from generationally, the current society of liking to tell, we can stand out as business owners, as nonprofit professionals, as faith leaders, politicians, by understanding where people are coming from an active listening standpoint. And that's the whole leading by listening. If you sense that people are not listening to you, do something, stand up. Ask that follow-up question. I just want to make sure, Scott, that I get this right. If what you're telling me is that if with the investment going forward here, I should be wary, or I shouldn't say wary, I should be aware of how Trump builds his cabinet and the policies that could shift and how they impact my investments, correct? I should be fully aware, correct? Correct. That's a follow-up question to understand. When you gentlemen give a presentation, I need to wrap my head around that. So those follow-up questions are so key. And obviously those are the dates. 1969, 1879, 2001. But I can tell you my 15-year-olds are going to remember the election of 2016. That's for sure. And they were fully in tune to that, which is good. We talk about it. One of the things that my dad taught me, that at any age, if you lend to the conversation, you'll be listened to. And I always felt with 10 people at that table, I was always listened to, regardless. If you're 5 and your brother's 20, our parents allowed that kitchen table to have active listening. Did not discount you because you were a younger age. You just couldn't talk. You just couldn't be all about you and talk about cartoons. You had to lend to the conversation, my father would say. And I do that with my 15-year-olds. I allow them to talk about what's on their mind. I ask follow-up questions. I'm trying my best to let them stand out in the world that likes to tell. I know Kevin had attended my civil discourse seminar, and I do want to make this a part of today's presentation, because I do think this is a presentation that I put together along with my speaking partner, Tyler Slinger, who's to my right there. He is 20 years younger than me. And we gave a civil discourse presentation at the Libertarian National Convention. Well, by design, I thought to engage a millennial, a very bright, talented, accomplished millennial, would be the best way for me to go about it. Tyler doesn't remember 1979 because he wasn't born. He remembers though some key events in his life that made an impact. And that's what we built on. He remembers the financial crisis of 2008. He remembers watching people being affected by it. He was at a critical age to learn that. He brings a different perspective than I do. But I certainly didn't discount this fine gentleman because he's 20 years younger than me. He's a talented individual that Kevin has had a chance to meet too. We're a good team, and by design, we do a good job of, let's go back here. Bring curiosity. Let's talk about civil discourse.
Can I interrupt just a minute? Can you define it?
Civil discourse, the ability to talk civilly about anything in the world. Civil discourse, bring civility and exchange ideas. Okay?
Just want to make sure I was on the same page.
Yeah, civil discourse, effective civil discourse, the ability to talk about it. And we don't have a lot of that today, and so 2 years ago we brought this forward. We saw it even within some of our own circles that we don't bring curiosity. We don't understand where we've grown up, where we've been. We've all grown up in different parts of the country, right? You're probably wondering my accent. My northern accent, if you're picking up on it there, obviously I grew up up there. Who grew up outside this country? That starts that ability that we all probably have something in common more than we disagree. We've all heard that, but the curiosity drives that. I'm curious. What is it like to grow up or get married on a baseball field or grow up in a different part of the country and then move to a different city? What is it like to, it's the curiosity that overcomes that. Why do you think that way? Curiosity overcomes a lot of that tension in the room. Why do you think that way? So bring that curiosity. And as we move into this, stay in the moment. When I talked with Paul, or the exercise with Paul, and I was engaging him, that's staying in the moment. And really, once we start engaging, we don't want to disengage too quick. But we also have people that we sit down with for a coffee meeting or what have you, and all of a sudden, other distractions come in. I know that when I meet with someone, I set my phone down and I say, the only time I'll take that call is if it's school or my wife. Everything else can revert to voicemail. We have 45, 60 minutes. It's all about you. That's staying in the moment. But even on a small scale, just that eye contact, that balance, that helps, that civility, that helps know that I actually care, want to know, versus one to break away. Now, some people say, well, everybody's busy, and we are. And if I needed to move on and say, Chris, I would love to talk to you about this when I get this wrapped up. Let's talk backyard too. A lot of people don't take that step. So stay in the moment with that civil discourse. Understand, bring that curiosity, and most importantly, listen actively. Understand where they're coming from. You ask good questions. What? Todd, keep your name, sir. I didn't. Todd. Sorry, I didn't get a chance to introduce myself prior to. If you held a view or have an opinion, and it's different than mine, I just simply say, that's interesting. How did you come about with that? I'm just curious on why do you think that way? Or what brought you to that conclusion? That helps versus going defensive and say, you're absolutely wrong. I think this person's got it right. Well, what are you going to think about that? I met you just barely, and I said, you're wrong on that. Let me tell you. And that happens every day. I need to understand where you're coming from. I do not know, anything that's going on in your life, where you're at, what happened on the ride over, what happened last night. I know that I've gone through a lot. Young kids and an elderly father. But just understanding, Todd, where you are coming from will help me to engage in a positive way. So that's why that curiosity, staying in the moment, and listen actively is the key to that civil discourse. And I know, Kevin, we've talked about this for several months, that it's needed today to help us heal. There's risks. There's a lot of people hurting today, and there's a lot of people that are happy today. But we also, as a country, as people from Atlanta, people from the state of Georgia, this country, we all have responsibilities. We have parents, we have children, we have businesses, we have jobs, we have bills to pay. It's important to stay civil, stay positive, and bring these simple steps. And as a sales trainer, I do not want to bring in War and Peace and say, all right, Scott, digest all this, and hopefully you get an idea from it. I would rather have you 2 years from now going, I remember two people sitting on talking, and these 3 key points. And those are just simple ways. It's a sales training activity that when we bring curiosity about their business, tell me how you started that business. Tell me your role within this business. That applies. Don't go in there telling your product. Telling's not selling. Asking, understanding, working in a faith community, working in a nonprofit, Tell me where you're at, where are you coming from? Where do you want to go? Where do you want to grow your business? And curiosity brings about conversation. Staying in the moment allows it not too quick to move on to telling. And listen intently. Listen for understanding so we can pick up on advantages to best help them. And it could be a new client. It could be a new partnership. It could be a new faith or a church member. It could be a new account. We take those steps to grow our businesses by doing things that the average nonprofit business development professional or salesperson or small business owner or CEO doesn't do. We can stand out. And that's how business growth is driven. When you start building that foundation. That foundation for ultimately strong business relationships. That being said, excuse my clip art because I want these images to stay with you. Who remembers the teeter-totter? I don't even think they're on
They still exist.
playgrounds anymore, right?
They are.
Yes.
There's some somewhere.
But if you were ever on a teeter-totter and your little brother jumped off, you were coming down, you'd want to dress like that. Yep. Boom. But when you were sitting there just chatting about sports and just talking, there's balance, right? Balance. It's called a teeter-totter. That balance in conversation goes a long way. Dominated by one side or purposely playing coy. Some people will just sit back, no. Strive for balance. Everything in nature, everything in relationships, everything in balance is good. And so, Scott, if you remember me mimicking a teeter-totter,
Remember you doing that?
do it then. The next time you have a conversation. That silly clip art's looking pretty good, right?
That's going to be hard to etch out of my mind. Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah.
That's why we do this. Balance of conversation is just a simple technique that anybody in business, anybody in nonprofit, and what have you, adopts. You'll stand out. Who, in the last couple weeks, who feels that they've been talked at in a one-on-one conversation? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Clearly talked at, not feeling reciprocal, not feeling balanced. Who wants to share what your feelings afterward were, after that talking at moment? Anybody? What was your feelings? Frustrated.
Disrespect.
Disrespected.
Block, block,
Blunt.
block,
Blocked.
blocking. It's like blocks you, blocks you, emailing that person.
Okay, so
Block.
Block.
Okay. Good one. So frustrated, disrespected, blocked, right?
Impatient.
Impatient. You felt impatient.
I wanted to participate too.
Okay. You were looking for that opportunity. Kevin.
Not appreciated that my views were discounted.
Good one. Scott.
Angry, I wanted to ram my fist down the guy's throat. How about that?
God.
Sorry.
Civil.
Just keeping it real.
That was the anger was there. You
Yeah,
felt talked at. Anybody else want to share? But that's my question was, and frustrated. That was just in the last couple of weeks. What if I said in the last month or 6 weeks, Todd? I bet you. Tim, you know, it happens. It happens. Balance is a way to allow people to feel appreciated, to let their views come through, to not be impatient, not feel frustrated, not feel angry, not feel disrespected, not feel blocked. Balance is good, and obviously bringing forth, and this is a little edgy slide because in sales, selling's not telling, but I do this, don't tell. I do that for a reason. I want that to stay with my seminar participants, if you know, don't tell right away, and you ask, you're in a better chance to have that balancing conversation, right? Because, Scott, if you did get the chance to talk at him, you might have. You might have.
Guilty as charged too, yes.
And
Yeah.
me, I've been there. I'm one of 8 kids. Believe me, I am not perfect. But when there isn't balance and you're being talked at, the first reaction is, all right, my turn.
Mhm.
And there's not balance there, and it's probably not as, the key word, productive a conversation as you would have liked if there would have been balance from the beginning. Agreed? Think about the simplicity of the balance, but something out of balance. If you got a chance to finally talk, you may have responded to that person differently if there would have been more of an interaction or talking with each other, right? And that's what we strive for. Strive for talking with each other. I do some outreach, and when I work go to the Minnesota State Fair and some of these events, and someone wants to tell me something, and they feel they're animated, I go, I will certainly have a conversation with you, but there's one rule I have. We're going to step over here, we're going to have a conversation. I have one rule, you can't talk at me. You got to talk with me. Are you to agree to that? And you should see the look on their face, like, wow. And they either agree or not. I won't be talked at. I will listen. But it is important that we don't tell people, we ask, share that balance. And I'm building an equation here. And granted, it's simple, clip art. And I do have something for the bulletin board. But does anybody have salespeople on staff? Anybody have nonprofit professionals that report back to you? That you manage? You have. You want to know that they're representing your organization on the field, right?
Mm-hmm.
With these types of approaches versus disrespecting someone, right? They represent your company.
Mm-hmm.
You want to make sure that they're asking, they're understanding. So certainly, as we build the equation here, any questions so far as I build this equation?
Do you think your value of getting help for it, actually?
That's right.
Joe?
It's Dave, right?
Yes, it is.
Okay, I just want to make sure I get it.
Don't ask, or don't tell, but ask. Can take all different kinds of routes, as you said, between family to a salesperson to employees.
Yeah.
When you need to get the floor, what do you do? One example you gave was when you took the person off to the side. What is another way that you can do the same?
So what you're asking me is to set the right forum for that conversation?
Maybe set a subtle message. Some people, when I worked at the airport and did customer service, when people would be berserk and you knew that you had to get to solve the problem, venting was just being circular.
Mm-hmm.
One way was to take a step back and put your arms behind and they'd take a breath. And then you would step forward and say, but this is what I can do for you. But I have trouble when I'm on the same side of a counter with somebody. How do I send a message to them that I've got something to say?
What I've done, and I have been in a position where in customer service capability or responsibilities where people are upset. And it sounds like you may have been in a position where they were upset with you. And you're looking for a way to kind of bring it back.
But I'm saying even more because we're on the same side of the counter. So,
okay.
and I think he led on to it. He's got something he wants to say, but he doesn't know how to get the person to pause a moment.
Yeah. One of the things you could do is just say, almost like a breaker to say, I can finish your thought, but I want to add something to that. So it's a positive way to keep them but also signals your intention. You want to bring value to that conversation. Finish that, I don't mean to interrupt, but finish that thought, I want to add something to it. Revert back to listening. That might be a civil way. You could even use a hand gesture, just, I've got an idea. But I want to let you, Dave, I want to let you finish that thought. I want to tag on that idea, but keep going. That's how I've handled it. Especially if someone, it's clear they're not going to stop, or they're getting more and more animated and upset, or you have to find a way to bring it back to an even plane. But you're right, people will talk, and it could be amplified. And so use of body language. Another way to do it could be sitting down. Just say, I really want, for example, now I really want to understand where you're coming from. Let's sit down. When people do sit down, there is a calming effect to sitting down versus standing either side by side or across the counter. If that's possible, do that. Let's sit down and talk about it. That might be a way. So many times when we're standing, it's amplified. Dave, is that helpful? Is that
Yes, it
something
was.
that may?
Yes.
Okay. Thoughts on that? Yes, Kevin?
I have a question, but I give you a real life example. One thing, just to tell the person, I need you to listen, and I was with my friend Tim here, he's like my prayer partner, and one morning he needed to talk. And I really understood what he was saying, and I agreed with him. And like Dave said, we were on the same side, so I already agreed, but he said, Kevin, I need you to listen. And I'm like, okay, yeah, but he said, no, I just need you to listen. And I had to just stop and listen. And so sometimes just telling people, hey, I understand or don't understand, I just need you to listen. And that really is effective, is just tell people, I just need you to listen to what I'm saying right now.
That's certainly a statement that you need to be heard, and you want to be heard, and certainly can be used to do that. You just have to be careful so we don't make sure our tonation is right on that. But
Like a subtle shot
but that's certainly a statement that they know that they need to be listened to. So
Let me ask my question real quick.
yeah. Now
Can
we're
you,
gonna go to Mark.
can you expound upon the difference, because I hear everybody saying, the difference between understanding a person versus trying to get them to agree with you? Because I think sometimes when we say, I want you to listen, I mean, we're not listening, like, I need to understand where the other person's coming from, not trying to get them to agree with me. Sometimes in sales, in politics especially, you're not going to get them to agree with you, ever. But we want to still have this civil discourse and understand that other person.
That's exactly right. That's it.
Can you expound upon that?
Well, I would say that I don't go out trying to get everybody to agree with me, but certainly if I have a view that can complement or be shared, if I share that view, I see myself as a bit of a farmer where I'm planting a seed. This is how I see it. Todd, I don't necessarily see you agree with it, but in my experience, I've seen this work. And that's why, if it even was politics, I've seen firsthand how this type of program has helped people, even in the nonprofit sector. And, so it's not trying to change someone's, to totally agree with you, Kevin, but it's more to get them to understand where you're coming from, and it's more to get them to think about that interaction in a positive, productive way, so they could possibly take that seed and learn more about it and decide for themselves. And that's true for a lot of things in our lives where we have to kind of process it and see if this is right for us. Many people won't agree on the spot. Yes, ma'am.
I like observing Jesus. Like, he never really tried to explain or convince anybody of anything. He would ask a question or he would speak in some cryptic parable. Like, it's not my job to make you understand. Real passive, like a master listener.
Anybody want to add?
What did you say at the end? Your voice trails off, Todd.
I just thought that Jesus is exemplified like good leadership through listening. Like he would say things, but he was never like concerned about making a point or having the other person understand. He would always like leave them hanging for that.
So he left them pondering.
So very passive, like master listener.
Yeah.
Which is
Interesting.
really-
I haven't heard that before.
Well, except when he confronted the Pharisees,
Yes,
he was the polar opposite.
that's true.
He was very deliberate.
Do you want to
I
ask
have
a
a,
call?
oh,
Yes.
I have a question.
Certainly.
I really like what you said about bring up curiosity. Are there any questions or statements that you have found effective in communication that perhaps not only disarms people but brings up that curiosity as well, without sounding too random or from left field, to use this statement from earlier? You know, but some kind of line that people can gravitate to that does build curiosity, but also maybe just open some communication up as well.
That's a great question. In the field, if you're talking to someone, there's no problem with saying, I'm curious. Tell me, oh, here's a good one. A statement's made and you may disagree or not understand. Just, Paul, tell me more about that. I'm curious on where you're coming from on that. So an open-ended question may be where we revert to, versus instantly going to argumentative or defensive. I'm curious, what do I know that, what do you know that I don't know about this? I'm just wanting. So it could be an open-ended question. That it's a curious question, but it's an easy one to really take to the field. You know, Dave, tell me more about that.
Okay.
Tell me more about that. Could be a way to start building it. Like, oh, now I see where you're coming from on that. I didn't quite get it when you first said it. Does that answer your question, Paul? Sure. An open-ended tell me more could be the easiest way in the field. Emotions, noise, people cutting in front of you off. Just, Todd, tell me more about that. I just want to know more from my own process. Martin, I want to make sure you don't forget your question for me.
A lot of these situations that people are describing, you don't have all the time in the world, especially the guy that's berserk in the airport. But if you have time, sometimes people just want to say their story. And I've had minor traumas in my life, and I found that I had to tell the story 3 times before I was over it. And of course, you can't in the airport listen to the berserk story 3 times, but you know, maybe you can listen to it once from beginning to end. It might take 20 minutes, but I understand that's impossible probably in the airport.
Yes.
But listening the whole story sympathetically,
Yes.
nodding your head,
Yes.
saying that's tough, that's really tough, I totally get it. And you sit there long enough, and they'll run out of air. And I don't mean that in a negative way. People have to get rid of their...
They get it out their chest.
They get it off their chest,
They
exactly.
feel understood.
Right.
That's absolutely right. I will share an example with you as we move forward. I spent some time in the nonprofit sector as a career counselor, and I worked with professionals from all over the world. I had 2 individuals from the former Soviet Union. One individual in particular, in 1990, got his and his wife's family out of the Soviet Union at that time, or former Soviet Union. Came to America, high-end IT person, went to a local University of Minneapolis, St. Paul to get his MBA. Struggling, he got let go from a contract as a project manager, contract position. And was dealing with a lot with his elderly parents. And if you've ever worked with anybody from all over the world, people interact differently. And in this particular case, this individual from the former Soviet Union was more animated than most of my clients. And I actually had people come to my door when I was counseling. Joe, we have an emergency out in the hallway. Can you come out? Yeah, what's going on? Oh, we thought you were being berated in there. I go, what do you mean? Well, we heard the one-sided conversation, we thought you were, and I said, I'm okay, I'm in control here. That individual from the former Soviet Union had that frustration that needed to come out about losing that job and being underappreciated for his skills. So Martin, I let that individual be understood. I clearly knew he needed to be understood. And this happened several, and I could sense when we'd have conversations, sometimes it would trigger, it would come back about him being let go, that I had to be very aware to allow him to be understood again. And he trusted me. It took some time to build that trust, but at the end, he knew I trusted him, that I would hear him, understand him. When me and Pastor Paul were talking about outcomes, positive outcomes, I can tell you that that individual got a full-time job with a six-figure income for a engineering firm here back in June, and he calls me to go out for lunch. Martin, to your point, he needed to be heard, understood, and just better understanding where he's coming from, and I was that conduit to him. And that helped me to be a better counselor. But you're right. There are people that need to get that off their chest. And if we see ourselves as that positive conduit to allowing them and potentially taking it to a positive way, we may be in a better position to help them. But they may need to get that off their chest. So that may be that view that it's not me personally, but I'm the person standing there, and I'm going to be that conduit, but finding a way for them to understand that you fully understand where they're coming from helps goes a long way. And I'm sure you're doing that now, but it's not always perfect, is it?
No, it isn't.
And obviously, when we look at this equation, the balance in conversation plus active listening results in more business, meaningful business relationships, and that's our goal. Meaningful business relationships have the potential to lead to something. You might be able to have a new account for 10 plus years because of that method. You might bring on a new partnership. You might bring on a new parishioner. You might bring on a new client, what have you, because of this simple way of going about it in a world that likes to talk at us. And that's for that leadership. Leadership doesn't mean that we do whatever the rest of the world is doing. Leadership stands out for what you think is right to grow your business, but also to lead in a way that if you're the leader, Chris is not going to worry that his competition's telling people stuff or not listening. He knows he's standing up and growing his business, right? Pastor Paul knows that he's reaching people in their faith journeys more effectively because of listening. Brandon goes to a new account, wants to bring him on. He's listening more closely to the next person. That partnership within a third political party that needs to, if other political parties are not striving for that, but you are, you're a leader. If you're a customer service and you're doing more than the customer service person that's just ready just to move them along, you're a leader. Agreed?
Agreed.
That's how we stand out in this world. Simple method, and it wasn't meant to be complicated. It's meant to take to the field and stand out. And that's where that leadership and listening goes hand in hand, just a simple method.